There are more than 180 million electric poles in the US. So many that you could lay them down end to end and wrap them around the Earth roughly 55 times. But like the rest of the power grid, they're getting old.
There's a lot that's been there for 70, 80, even 100 years, which of course is very, very old.
This is a simplified drawing of what some say is the largest machine in the world.
The elaborate power grid supplying electricity, the whole foundation of our electrical age.
And right now, researchers like Cush know that something relatively new is plugging in. Data centers.
They're big, they're consuming a lot of power.
There's definitely a growing demand for energy where we are electrifying everything.
Levels we've never seen before.
So Cush and his team worked with Amazon and electric utilities in 4 regions to dig into the numbers, rates, and electricity bills.
So what happens when a data center comes to town?
What are the implications for other customers?
Can the grid keep up? And are Amazon data centers raising electricity bills?
When I got into power early in my career, I just couldn't believe how many people just don't think about it, right? It's such a huge part of our society, and society wouldn't work without power.
And neither would data centers. In fact, all the data centers that store our photos, process takeout orders, keep medical records, or generate directions use about 4% of total US energy, with that number set to grow. At the same time, residential electricity prices have jumped by 27% in the past 5 years. But something else has changed too.
Early on, we've been growing electricity demand, post-war booms, and then around the early 2000s, we kind of stopped growing and kind of paused a bit. But now we're kind of at the time where, we're embarking on a new growth phase.
And this graph helped Cush understand what was happening when a new data center was built in Mississippi.
Right here, we're standing by one of the largest ones being built in the South.
Here in Mississippi, like in many other places, new data centers are being added at the same time the grid is facing strains of its own.
We saw cost pressures facing us. We're dealing with greater trends in weather that create challenges around reliability and resiliency. We knew we needed to make investments to better serve our customers.
The maintenance for a power plant, the poles of a transmission line, the wires for distribution, all of the grid infrastructure. These are the fixed costs that can make up about half of your electricity bill. And while renewable energy has played a part in decreasing the cost of power generation over the last 2 decades, what has risen dramatically is the cost of the infrastructure that moves the power around the grid reliably.
And so if you don't have growth, you're going to put all that cost on your existing customers.
We were already kind of undergoing a lot of kind of stress and transformation. And then you add a lot of demand that needs to kind of come online very quickly.
So Mississippi needed a plan.
Entergy Mississippi is moving forward with the next phase of its largest grid upgrade project, Superpower Mississippi.
Superpower Mississippi is the result of years of conversations to strengthen the grid and bring data centers to the state while writing customer protections into law.
The largest project in state history. The costs incurred are to the benefit of the ratepayers.
Looking at numbers from the utility company and Amazon directly, Cush and his team found that Amazon paid for the power it needed as well as grid infrastructure improvements like a new substation or new renewable energy projects.
By bringing a large customer in there, it allows us to take all those fixed costs we talked about and spread it across a larger volume of usage.
Amazon was both covering the cost to serve its load, but also helping to fund shared grid assets.
Spreading those fixed costs means Mississippi residents' bills are expected to be 16% lower than they would have been otherwise.
We looked at 4 different utility territories.
Looking at these individual kind of data centers across the US, you were able to kind of prove, quantitatively, data centers had not been subsidized by other customers. They were paying their fair share.
So those millions of poles spread out across the US, they're just a small part of a large machine and one of the many different factors that impact electricity prices in each region. Data centers are a part of that story, but not always in the way you'd expect.
Data centers can have beneficial impacts on other customers, and we see that in a lot of places, but it's not a foregone conclusion. It's also not a foregone conclusion that it is costly and hurting other customers.
What we do know is the grid is being asked to power a completely different world than the one that it was built for. Getting it right isn't just an engineering problem, it's a question of how the world grows responsibly.
We want to make sure that any new data center pays their fair share. It requires both industry and utilities to partner together with the ultimate goal of bettering the community.